In mid-1970s, Hollywood was searching for something new. Variations of films with heroic characters, survival dramas, and gritty male relationships were all at their peak. But one idea, born in the mind of actor Sylvester Stallone, was about to change not only his life but also the history of cinema. Rocky is not just a story about boxing. It's a film about a man who fights not only his opponents in the ring, but also himself, his life, and his fears. Initially, this project seemed like an unremarkable drama with a small budget, but within a decade, it became iconic and grew into one of the most popular franchises in the world. Sylvester Stallone, at the time still an unknown actor but filled with ambition, faced a tough reality. His career wasn't taking off, and he needed something that could elevate him to a new level. Deeply inspired by Muhammad Ali's fight with Chuck Wepner, Stallone came up with a story about an ordinary guy from the streets getting a shot at the world boxing title. Rocky was born as a kind of allegory about hope and the strength of the human spirit. He wrote the script in just a few days and began searching for studios that might be interested in the project. Offers did come, on one condition: someone else would play the lead role. Producers were willing to pay good money but didn't see a star in Stallone. He was a nobody, and the film was deemed a risky venture. But he refused. Despite his poverty and the very real threat of becoming destitute, Stallone insisted. Either he plays Rocky or the movie doesn't happen. This persistence, bordering on stubbornness, ultimately played a key role. Producers Irwin Winkler and Robert Chardoff took a risk, agreeing to his terms, but they slashed the budget to a minimum. The project ended up in the hands of an actor who was willing to sacrifice everything for just one role. He didn't just create Rocky, he was Rocky. With limited funds, the crew had to make decisions that now seem astonishing. For example, the boxing match scenes were filmed using real boxers, and many of the dialogues and scenes were spontaneous, with minimal rehearsal. The shooting took place on the streets of Philadelphia, which added to the realism and helped achieve maximum authenticity. The city became an inseparable part of the film, almost as much of a character as Rocky himself. Many scenes in Philadelphia were shot without any permits, simply because there was no money for them. It was a true guerrilla approach. The crew would go out on the streets with the camera, the actors would perform, and the passers-by didn't even know they were in a movie. The scene where Rocky runs through the market and someone throws him an orange was completely improvised with the participation of random people. The same goes for the legendary run up the museum stairs. No extras, no setup. The cameraman with a newly invented Steadicam simply ran after Stallone, filming on the go. Everything was real, and that's why it still works to this day. When filming was finished, director John Avildsen, who was still relatively unknown at the time, found himself in quite a difficult position. Despite working with a limited budget and facing numerous challenges, such as a lack of time and resources, he had to figure out how to deliver the final product. He knew the film had the potential to be something bigger, but his doubts were justified. The filming had been tough, and the final result didn't seem to match his ambitions. But as it turned out, all of this only added to the film's irresistible energy. Avildsen put everything he had into the project. It was his chance. But despite all his efforts, he didn't see any guaranteed success. He hoped only that the film would somehow get released and find its audience. And of course, he could never have imagined that Rocky would become a cult film that would change his life and the careers of everyone involved in the production. The inexperience and the film's budget turned out to be its advantage. The script was so strong that by the time the film was released in 1976, audiences were already ready for such a story. Rocky was embraced enthusiastically by both viewers and critics, earning numerous awards, including the Oscar for Best Picture. It was a true breakthrough. Stallone became a star. The inclusion of boxing in the film was merely a metaphor. The essence was in the struggle. Every punch, every fall Rocky took in the ring was a step toward himself, a victory over doubts. This simple yet profound theme resonated with audiences around the world. And although no one could have predicted such success, it became undeniable. Rocky was much more than a sports film. Since then, Rocky has become not only a symbol of perseverance, but also an example of how a low-budget film can change the film industry. It wasn't just Sylvester Stallone's success as an actor and writer, but also a breakthrough for an entire generation that was searching for its ideals. Inspired by the image of Rocky, many began to strive for their goals, despite the challenges. The film spawned an entire franchise, which continued to evolve over the decades. Inspired by Stallone's idea, other films and projects began to use a similar formula of the man from the streets who wins, making Rocky a cultural phenomenon, not only in the US but abroad as well.